Hello everyone, in this video let us take a look at w3m. So w3m is actually a text-based browser, and it actually works in terminal. So this is something that I wanted to show you today. But before I show you w3m, how it works, I want to basically talk about this site of mine. So I have two blogs. I have many blogs, but today I'll be showing you two blogs. Both of these blogs are my blogs, and the first blog is ravi.pro, which is a very simple blog. If you look at this blog, it is something that I build and I manage using org mode, and it is a simple HTML page with a link called blog, where I have this blog index, and I have different links where I can take a look at individual blogs. I can go back to the blog. I can take a look at let us say the sitemap, which is nothing but different links that I have. And this blog is something that I manage totally using org mode, and I have a video. I made a video on this topic. So we will be taking a look at how this simple HTML based blog will be viewed in w3m. And the second blog, which is my Drupal based blog, which is of course in Drupal 8, is totally different. It is a proper content management system. You can see here that we have images, we have a lot of dynamic content. If you go to the videos page, you have the option to take a look at all the videos. So as compared to the previous blog, this is totally different. There is a huge difference here. Now, to use the w3m, all you need to do, you need to simply type in this command. Let me just get rid of my face. So when you are on your terminal, type in your w3m command. So I'm not really going to discuss how to install w3m. If you want, you can of course refer to your installation manual. If you're on Mac, I can tell you that you can use brew. Just type brew install w3m and it will be installed for you. So if you want to, let us say, open a website, you can just use something like w3m followed by your website URL. So right now I'm trying to open ravi.pro. So if you press enter, you can see that we have this site opened in front of us. So this looks really simple, and you can of course use your arrow keys. You can use page up, page down to basically navigate through this particular blog. It is a simple blog if you compare it with the previous blog that I showed you in my Chrome browser. It looks similar, and that is not really a surprise because this blog itself is very simple as well. So there is no difference here. But the good thing is that you can do the navigation using tab. So you can of course press the tab key, and if you want to, let us say, take a look at all the blogs that I have written. So this looks really good. So to be honest, this is actually very simple, and I think this will this actually looks of course simple, but it is also convenient for someone trying to navigate my blog post. So I can definitely press the tab here to go through different blog posts. So let us say if I want to open my blogging with Emacs, so I have this table of content, which is something that you can also do when you are looking at this blog here. If you click on Emacs fundamentals, which is nothing but my table of content, and if I click on it, I am taken to my Emacs fundamentals. And if I do the same thing here, I'll press shift tab. So if I click on it, I'm taken to Emacs fundamental. So the anchors are working really well, and I think this is quite readable. This is quite easy to follow, navigate, and I'm personally quite happy and satisfied with this particular um, interface. It is simple. I mean, if I'm focused just on the content, it will definitely work for me for me at least. Now let us open something like this, something like uh, I mean a site with a lot of content, especially Drupal. And when I open this site in W3M, I want to of course talk about how W3M will open this site, but I also want to show you the capabilities of Drupal. Drupal looks really wonderful when you open it. I mean, Drupal-based site looks really wonderful when you open them in a browser. But the good thing about Drupal is that you also have Drupal that follows the accessibility guidelines, so WCAG guidelines, where you can, I mean, you can take a look at this site. If you search for uh, I mean, if you just cite Drupal accessibility, so you can see and you can read this guideline here called accessibility, and of course I'm talking about WCAG 2.0, but we'll probably talk about this in a different video. But today I want to show you how it looks like, and this will actually this will actually tell you how your sites should be built. I mean, if you're building a site for a browser like Chrome or Firefox or maybe Internet Explorer, if you're still using Internet Explorer, then you would expect site to load perfectly. But what if I open my Drupal based site in W3M, which is a terminal based browser? Let us see how it behaves. And this actually looks really good, because on top you have your main menu, then you can of course navigate. If you open, let us say, let us first take a look at the home page. So these are different blog posts. I can take a look at my blog post that I posted on maybe this is of course my blog post here, like when learning a new skill, do you prefer taking mock test, and so on. And this is of course really easy to navigate. And if I go back and if I show you the first blog post, which is taking notes, taking control back of your data, this looks quite simple and easy. When you're working on console, you don't have the visual indication of those headers, and the text won't be visually bigger or smaller. But if you build your site using Drupal and you know a bit of accessibility guidelines, you will know how to organize your content, because usually if you're following the guidelines, if you are following those guidelines that I just talked about, let me just open it very quickly, Drupal accessibility. And this is of course not really limited to Drupal. You can use any technology to build a website. The whole idea here is to use this WCAG guidelines. You don't need to be expert on this, but if you know a little bit, like things like let us say if you're using this image, have some alternate text for it, so that people with visual impairments, they can also read something about this image. Or if you're browsing it on your terminal based browser, you have some information about the image. So this is something that makes it really easy for even a site built with Drupal to be navigable, or navigable, I hope it is the right word, but it can be browsed on a terminal. And if you open other pages, you can still understand what is happening with the content. And I of course need to do a bit more work on these different pages, where I can probably add I'll make sure that I have some alternate text. But overall, if you're using Drupal, it will actually load quite perfectly, because as you can see here that it is actually not bad for someone who is using terminal to understand what is happening with how the site is organized. Like on top you have the navigation followed by some structure. So if you're following the guidelines, you you can easily, you can be assured that your site will be readable if your site is accessible. And I believe in accessibility. If you're making content for the wider audience, uh, then you should be worrying about WCAG guidelines. And you can of course use Drupal, you can of course use any technology you want, but if you focus just on the content, then use something like simple HTML, because even a site built with simple HTML will be easy, will be easily navigable by anyone who is trying to use this terminal-based or text-based browsers. So today I was showing you w3m. We also have other browsers, similar browsers that can do the same thing, but the whole point here is to focus on making sure that you have a site which is organized properly, and you have some kind of a structure that you can create, that you can make sure that you actually define when you're building a site. I use Drupal and I use org mode that actually handles a lot of this. Um, I don't need to do a lot about it, but if you're building a site with a lot of images, just make sure you have some alternate text. Make sure you have header 1 followed by header 2 followed by header 3 and so on. Keep it in some organized way so that your site can be accessed by wider audience, especially people who like using Linux and people who prefer text-based browsers. So this is all I wanted to share in this video. I hope you learned something and you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you very much.